Hello, and thank you for taking the time to learn more about our Zingle Hospitality text messaging solution. Zingle is a two-way communication tool that allows your staff to better communicate with your guests. Texting is the new global standard for communications. The average person will look at their phone roughly 150 times per day. 97% of smartphone users will text message, and 98% of all texts are opened and read in under 2 minutes. Your guests want to text message with you. Zingle software allows your guests to text your staff, which provides improved loyalty, happiness, and increased spend. It's also important for me to point out that Zingle is not an app. There is nothing that needs to be downloaded for your guests to be able to interact with their property. They'll simply get a text message on their phone and they click reply, just like responding to a friend. Incredibly straightforward. What we're looking at right now is our Zingle web page. I have this highlighted to reiterate that all of our software is web-based. As long as you and your team have access to the internet, they can log into their Zingle account and interact with your guests. All that we need to do is go to the top right-hand corner and click on Login. And from here it'll take us to our Zingle login page where each employee should enter their own user credentials. So I'll simply click on Login right here. And from there it'll take us to our Zingle inbox. For example purposes today, we're looking at a Zingle Sandbox account, but for each individual property that signs up with Zingle, in the top left-hand corner would have the hotel name, along with a 10-digit phone number that we would work with your property to identify a same area code and similar number. In some instances, we can reach out to your existing phone carrier and look if it's a possibility to reroute that phone number. But for today's purposes, we'll be spending the majority of our time in our Zingle inbox. As you can see, that field is populated right here. We also have a contacts field that we'll visit briefly, and there's also more information around automations and analytics. If you'd like to learn more about this, please reach out to a Zingle account executive and we can provide more information. There are 3 columns in the Zingle inbox that I'd like to explain briefly. Our left-hand column is called our conversation column, and this is the same thing as if you were to click on your cell phone and click on your text message icon. You'll notice that all the people that you've texted with, whether it's friends or business partners, are kept right there, and there's a summary from the most recent at the top. This is the same thing, and if we click on one of those messages, it'll open up and change the conversation information. So if I look at an old interaction with Stephen Essman, all of the information that he's texted our property is kept right here. And this is also where your staff will go to type in and respond to your guests in order to interact with those messages, which we'll look at in just a moment. On the right-hand side is our contact detail column, and this is where we collect all of our guest information. Their title, first name, last name, phone number, check-in and check-out date, if we want to use some special labels or VIP codes. All of this information can be built that's specific for your property. So now let's get to the fun part. Let's do a little interacting. On my personal cell phone, I'm going to send in a quick message that just says test. This is for purposes to kick off an automation which we call our first text registration. This is not something that needs to be used at your property, but it's a great example if someone wants to text into Zingle and we might not know who we're interacting with ahead of time. If we don't have their information in the Zingle inbox, we can ask them a few simple questions. First thing that responds, it says, "Thank you for texting Bramley Resort and Spa. To be of best service, can you please reply with your first name?" So I'm quickly going to type that into my cell phone and respond. And in just a moment, it'll populate in the top right-hand corner, saving your front office staff plenty of time so they can still be checking in other guests as we're gathering our guest information that are texting in. The response says, "Thanks you, David. What's your last name?" I'm going to quickly type in my last name, click send, and from there that will also populate as well. Now we know exactly who we're going to be interacting with, and it makes it much easier for us to understand if the guest is on property and their experience thus far. Another way to get information into the Zingle inbox is through our contacts. We can simply import a CSV file. Here's an example of one right here. Each and every PMS system will allow you to export this data very easily. This example obviously only has 3 contacts, but we have properties that have anywhere from 3 to 1,500 guests that they might want to input at one time. So we save a document like this and we go to our contacts field, and from there we simply click on import contacts, and we can drag and drop that document. For this purpose, I'm just going to select guest data, and automatically it'll identify each of those guests that are on there. I might want to specify any labels that we want to use, and I click Finish Importing. And from within a few minutes, all this information will be within the Zingle inbox. So now that we have our guest information in the Zingle inbox, we can begin sending those messages. And if we can do this the night before, we can send messages, pre-arrival messages or greeting texts and things like that. In order to do something like that, we would go to the bottom of the screen and click on our templates, where these are pre-worded phrases or messages that we might want to use over and over that saves your staff time from typing the same thing again and again. So we could put together a pre-arrival message that might want to say some specific information to our guests before they get to the property. I click in one click, send this out, and it says, "Hello, Mr. Anderson. We're excited for your arrival today at David's Resort and Spa. Check-in time is 3 p.m. However, if you arrive early, check your bags at the bellhop and join us for lunch at Saddleback Grill menu." This is a really nice feature within Zingle. We can include links to different web pages to give your guests more information. Same thing will show up on my cell phone. I click on this link, and right away your guests can look at your restaurant menu so they can get excited, schedule a lunch reservation, so they can spend more time and enhance their experience throughout your property. Another thing that we can do is include a link for directions. So this says for directions to the hotel, click here. And instantly on their cell phone it'll take them to Google Maps, and they can look and identify exactly where your property is from the airport if they might have trouble getting there. So these are a few things that we can do very, very easily to give our guests information before they even arrive at the hotel. Now let's say your guest arrives at the property, they want to check in, but the room might not be ready. Your front office team can let Mr. Bramley know that they'll send them a text message once their room is ready. We've been told over and over again the process can be sometimes frustrating for hotels to call their guests on their phone, and the guest might not always answer right away because it's an unknown number. They'll leave a message, and it could take quite a bit of time for the guest to be notified that their room is now ready. In this example, we can simply select a room ready text, and I click reply. Within 2 quick buttons, I have a message out to Mr. Anderson letting him know his room is ready, and he'll look down on his phone and get that right away. So it efficiently streamlines that process in order to notify our guests that their rooms are now ready. A few other things that I'd love to show within the Zingle inbox are some of our keyword automations. So if a guest might have a common question like, what is the Wi-Fi? I'm going to type this into my phone really quickly and type this as if a guest might have a common question. Instantly, our system will recognize that keyword and it'll provide a response. The internet ID is your room number and the password is your last name. We can build these types of automations with your team to answer all of those common questions in order to help reduce inbound phone calls for your front office staff. This is a wonderful feature to help expedite that process. Another fun thing that we can do within Zingle, and a lot of people request more information around, is our language translations. I'll be sending a quick text message in on my phone, which is actually in German. I'm not going to try to pronounce this because I don't speak German, but thankfully Zingle works in over 90 languages and can translate this for us. The guest had texted in, "My TV remote control is broken." So your front office team, all they need to do is click in this reply box and then type in a message. I can write, "Thank you, Mr. Anderson, comma, we will bring a remote to your room in 15 minutes. Or whatever that appropriate response might be. I type this out, I'm happy with the message, and I simply click reply. Our system will recognize that that initial message came in German, and it'll suggest that your team respond to that guest in German to make it easier on them. So up here it'll say, "Would you like to reply?" And the phrase is, once again, I'm not going to pronounce it, but then it says, "This roughly translates to thank you, Mr. Anderson. We will bring a remote control to your room in 15 minutes. Perfect. I also have the option to reply in English, but I'm going to make it easier on my guest that speaks German so that we can have that conversation in his language. What's also nice is that it provides the English translation as well. So from a management perspective, we'll know exactly what that conversation was from your team to that guest. A few other features that we can provide within Zingle are surveys. Oftentimes we'll suggest hotels will encourage their guests to text them the word checkout once they're leaving the property. I'm going to text this on my phone right now. Another instance is we can schedule an automation to go out and automate a survey every day that when the guest is checking out. So there's a few different options to handle this. But I'm going to text in the word checkout on my end. And from here, we instantly will have multiple notifications. Mr. Anderson had texted the word checkout, so right away we know that he's leaving his room. So we've told our system to remove a check-in label and apply a checkout label. This will allow us to notify housekeeping right away in order to help expedite the process to turn that room around. Secondly, we followed up and provided Mr. Anderson with a survey, which says, "We hope you enjoyed your stay at Bramley Resort and Spa. Can you please respond and rate your stay on a scale of 1 to 5? I'm going to provide a 5 because I had a wonderful experience. and then it provides a specific response based upon my rating. Thank you for taking the time to respond. We're glad that you enjoyed your stay. We'd love for you to also share your experience and then direct them to any website we might want to have them go to. And on the same note, if the guest had a bad experience, if they had a 0, 1, or 2, we could provide a completely different response that would say, we're sorry to hear that you had a bad experience. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to improve your stay. So a nice follow-up, and then we can even schedule a specific alert to go out anytime a guest has a bad experience, a 0, 1, or a 2, to notify a manager to let them know, hey, Mr. Anderson did not enjoy his stay here. Please contact him immediately. So that allows you and your team to interact with your guests before they leave the property. Try to do whatever you can to resolve the matter and prevent any type of negative review online. Zingle offers a variety of different features which we won't cover today, but I'd love for you to reach out to our team in order to learn more about, ranging from our integration to Facebook Messenger to the ability to send out group messages based upon a specific label, whether that's our VIP guests or everyone that's checked in, or if people are there for a special event. We can send a personalized message to a large group of people, and when they reply, it's simply a one-on-one conversation back to the Zingle inbox. We also offer an Apple iOS app as well as an Android app for your management team to monitor as they're walking around the property. So there's plenty of additional functionality that we won't cover today. For more information, please contact us at sales@zingleme.com. That's sales@zingleme.com. Thanks so much, and we look forward to speaking with you.